Okay, that's good. Well, at 6:30, we'll call our meeting to order. This is the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting. And as we always do, we'll begin by introducing ourselves. We are being taped, Jim.
Yes.
You just can't see it, maybe.
Okay.
So eventually it does get broadcast, so we want to be sure everybody knows who everybody is. We'll start with Dave.
I'm Dave Johnson, member of the Brainerd City Council.
Patrick Russell, Brainerd City Administrator.
Jim Perrine, incoming City Administrator.
Connie Hillman, Finance Director, City of Brainerd.
I'm Mary Cope, Council Member and Chair of the committee. Dave Pritchett is absent tonight. He is one of our committee members. And going back here, Spencer.
Spencer Pickett, Brainerd Dispatch Reporter.
Chris Schubert, HR Coordinator.
Okay. And item 1 is approval of the bills and payments to contractors. And we see them listed, Marco, SCH, and WSB and Associates. And what is your wish?
I move to approve.
And I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And item 2 is approve authorization to solicit requests for proposals for LTD and dental insurance. And a lot of information was presented to us on that issue. The LTD premiums are paid by the employer. The rate increase is based on current wages and would result in an annual additional premium of $10,200 for the city, $6,850 for BPU, and $1,400 for HRA. Dental insurance is paid entirely by employees if coverage is selected. So the recommendation is to solicit requests for proposals for the long-term disability and dental insurance. So what is your pleasure?
I make that motion.
And I will second it. Do you have anything to say about that, Chris?
No, I think you've covered it, Mary.
Okay.
Unless you'd like me to add more information.
Maybe, I'd like to hear a little more. I would.
Okay. The City of Brainerd participates with the National Joint Powers Alliance, NJPA, and we are part of a pool right now for our long-term disability and our life insurance. And we just received our 2016 renewal, and based on claims that we've had for the last couple of years, the life insurance stayed the same, but our LTD did increase 167%, as you said. And you've also listed the amount that will be increasing for all three entities, being the city, the HRA, and BP. So there isn't much more to add than that, other than our insurance agent met with me and suggested that we go out for quotes to see if we could get a better rate and to see what happens. And as long as we were soliciting quotes from insurance companies, I thought we would check on the dental as well. Some people have said that it might be a little bit high, so I thought we'd double check.
It's a good idea. Now, do you have any clue why the long-term disability increased so much?
It's based on claims.
So, did we have many small claims or a couple of huge ones?
We've had one larger one,
Okay.
and then a few smaller claims.
Well,
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Please.
How often do we go out for quotes on this, the proposals?
As part of the pool, NJPA goes out usually every 3 years.
Okay.
And we are doing this separately on our own because of the rate that we receive for our annual.
Okay, so we typically just purchase whatever NJPA finds. This year we're actually going out to see if we can find something better.
Correct.
And we haven't done that in some time.
If we don't find something better, can we stay with NGPA?
Yes.
JPA?
Definitely.
Okay, because we need to know that. Okay. The league doesn't provide that for us at all?
The company that we're using is Oaks or Integrity. They also do a lot of those things for the league as well.
Okay. But we haven't particularly asked the league if that is an insurance they could provide.
It's not one that they provide through the insurance trust.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
That it's the workers' comp and the general liability that the league provides through the insurance trust.
Is there anything else we should know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This one, just to
Please,
clarify,
please.
this one is a lot easier, these are a lot easier to do than regular health insurance.
Oh, yeah.
The health insurance is much more drawn out, complex process, where these are much simpler. So, I just don't want the council to think that we could turn around in 2 weeks and get you quotes for health insurance.
No, it looked like they had a pretty good timeline on you. You know, maybe by the end of the month.
Well, we'll try. We'll hope for the best, so that's all we can do. Are there any things we could do to help ourselves? I mean, I realize, long-term disability was based on something that happened here in their work? In the
Not necessarily.
No? Oh, really?
Workers' comp affects it if they got hurt at
Right.
work. This is if they can no longer work. So if someone needs to be off of work for 6 months before they can apply for
Okay.
long-term disability.
And
I think our wellness program will go a long way to help it.
And how long can they do that?
They can stay on,
Indefinitely?
it depends. For the first 3 years of long-term disability, it is their own occupation that they cannot be employed as. After
Okay.
that, they cannot be employed anywhere, basically, or they can't be a Walmart reader as an example
Okay.
or something like that. So
Okay.
they have to continue to certify.
Yeah. I guess this is what we have to do then. Did we have a motion?
Yeah, we did.
And did we pass it?
We haven't voted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we move on to item 3, approval of and authorized signatures of the municipal advisor contract. And Paul Steinman had quite a bit of information in here. I thought he might be here tonight, but obviously he thinks Patrick and Connie can probably explain it all. So do you want to just briefly, one of you, go over it?
I just think it's a result of the whole Wall Street, the whole recession, that they're pretty much kind of like the accounting profession. When the end runs of the world happen, they're just tightening up the restrictions on who can do what and what's needed in order to provide those services. And so therefore this is a municipal advisor contract, and it exactly explains out what they do, the ramifications and fees, etc.
No, go ahead.
And most
Patrick.
importantly, whenever it's a contract with any organization or individual, I always have the city attorney review those, and he did make one revision that was easily adopted by the Springstead.
Okay, the question I had on this was, if we hire Springstead to do this, is there a conflict because they do all of our other, like bond work and such? And if you got the same person supposedly overseeing this to keep everybody honest, which I guess is kind of the thought behind it, if it's the same one as does all your bond work, is there some conflict there?
Mayor, I
You
just
can
thought of
add to that?
perspective. Well, we work with Springstead at Polk County. We don't work with them for our financing. We work with Ellers and Associates. But Springstead has divisions. So if you're dealing with your pay classification plan, for example, you're not dealing with the same person that's over in the municipal bonds.
Okay.
There's a separation there. I don't think you'd find a conflict. At least I don't think.
But this would be for municipal bonds.
This is Mary Appendix A, lists out exactly what they're doing, the general municipal advisory services, the security issues. Really, it's all the bond. It's the arbitrage following up
Right.
after you issue the bond. It's all of that. And so to me, this has nothing, it's just, they're telling us this is what kind of services we're going to provide.
It's
for
like
you.
an engagement letter. It's just
Right.
saying,
This
this is
is
what
what we're
they're,
gonna
it's
do.
what they're already doing, but now it's in writing, so nobody can say, hey, we
Exactly.
didn't know you were doing that.
Okay.
We now know.
And is I didn't see any cost.
Yep.
Is the cost included in the bond sales, for example?
Appendix B lists out their fees that they charge based on the bonds.
Yeah,
And it lists out on D2, lists out the charges for the continuing disclosure and the arbitrage and rebate monitoring
okay.
services.
And those are kind of tucked in with the bond sales.
Correct, that's part of the
Okay.
issuance cost whenever
Okay.
we issue bonds.
Okay, so
We
I-
pay Springstead, Kennedy and Graven and our bond rating agency.
Okay. Gabe, this is probably right down your alley. Have you got some questions on that?
I don't have any questions. It looked, like a governmental response to something that happened in the past. I'd make the motion to approve if I did not yet.
And I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, we're down to the Parks Department and the sale of the automobile. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
This was strictly just an update. Back on the June 1st meeting, you authorized the Parks Department to put the Taurus up for bid with a minimum of $500. If they didn't get that $500, they were going to recycle the vehicle. And so Mr. Saylor's just letting us know that it sold for $629, and they will be using that money to convert the Tahoe that's coming from the police department to a Parks Department vehicle.
Do they think it'll take all of that?
It'll take more.
I think they just bought a new seat for it, so it was like $300 to $400 for the seat.
Okay.
And then just to change the decals out.
So that's information.
Yep, just informational. He was just following up with
Right.
something you guys had authorized.
Item 5 is a paid on-call conditional job offers.
Yes. So they're recommending to make a motion to make a conditional job offer to a Joshua Stengel and a Josiah Winship, contingent upon background testing and background and medical examinations.
And psychological as well.
For civil service.
Well, through the civil service process.
Yeah, I moved to approve the conditional job.
The paid on call is not part of civil service.
My apologies.
Oh, it isn't? Okay. Well, I didn't
Only
think so,
full-time,
so I
yes.
thought, wow, I'm learning. Okay. So the motion is to approve.
Yep.
And I will second that. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the next one is the TIF district, and I had just talked briefly to Patrick about that some time ago, and especially after we had kind of the one proposal on the Royal Tire and then another. And I said, maybe we ought to have a policy on length of terms. And I understand the concern that you raise on that. I do. You say, maybe not now. But maybe it's something we can talk more about, particularly with LADAC, to see are there some policies that would help them as well as us, so that a prospective employer, someone coming in to do business here, might have some better ideas of what can I expect from these people. And I think for now, Patrick's right, we just drop it. But maybe at some point we can revisit it for additional information.
If I could just comment, because
Please.
I was going, what did I say? And there's no memo in there talking about that, so I just want to make sure
Oh, it says
everyone's
staff's recommendations.
everyone's
so
on the same page.
Whoever, Connie,
Well, no,
whoever
and
we should blame.
we work together, but the state has policies,
Right.
statutes actually,
Right.
that limit for different types of development.
Right.
If it's housing, if it's
Right.
commercial,
Right.
retail, and those kind of things. And so, staff is suggesting that we stick with those
Right.
for now. I mean,
Right.
those are the maximum guidelines.
Right.
We like it when there's a lot of businesses that come to town that don't need any help, but
Where
in
are
some
they?
cases, well, we've got
AutoZone?
Federal Express, AutoZone,
Dunkin' Donuts?
Dunkin'
That's
Donuts.
true.
So we've got a
That's true.
variety of them that are coming in. So
You're right.
not sure if we limit ourselves, and I've seen a lot more of that with different counties. When I was in Sherburne County, the question is, why do you want to limit
Right,
yourself?
right.
You have statutory limits. I
Right.
think that's enough in my opinion, but that's where council should talk about it inside. Maybe all 6 of the council members tonight say, we need to really set a policy.
Well, I think we need to learn more till we do that. I mean, I don't want to set policies until I have a lot more information. But I still kind of think it's something maybe we should address and see what there is to learn, so that when Sheila comes up, and then we have a lot of questions that maybe could have been answered way in advance, so
There is a TIF district in town that was shorter than the statutory allowance, and that one will be decertified well before the minimum, because we thought the way the tax increment was going to come in, it wasn't going to need the whole 25 years. And so it's in there that there was going to be no payment after February 2015. So now we'll decertify that district.
good.
Even though they didn't the expectations were not met that they
Right.
thought, but that's the way it was.
Well, I think the concern that I had, and I'm guessing others may have, is when we thought we could do Royal Tire with maybe, 15 years, we talked
Right.
about it, and then it turned out that the increment wouldn't be sufficient, and so we had to lengthen it, and I thought, You know, I was so enthused about the 15, much less enthused about the 25, but I'm pleased that they're coming.
Right.
But it's a long time. But then what I've kind of learned, I think, is that the reason, even though they're putting $1 million or more, is that the tax is only on about half the value.
100% correct.
And so therein lay the problem with the TIF.
Bonus is that the property owner doesn't have to pay extra taxes.
It's nice
so-
for him.
So,
Right. So,
and that's why, most importantly, so everyone understands, we set the maximum reimbursement
Right.
to the property owner, so
Right.
that if in 3 years valuations substantially increase, maybe it only takes 10 years to pay them all that
Sure.
increment amount, and then they're done. We can
Right.
close it off early, as we're done with
Right.
several
Right.
of them in the city.
well, it's just that there's so much to learn on that, and
We don't
appreciate
deal
your
with those
help.
every week, so.
No, thanks so much on that. So we just leave that one, Gabe?
I say leave it, I think it should be
Okay,
a
I'm
case by
okay.
case.
Now, update on the City Hall HVAC, and I asked for that because I saw it was on the other committee, and I said, hey, that's financial too. We need to look at this too. And so here we are, and Connie just handed us this tonight. So none of us have had an opportunity to look at it. Do you want to highlight
Sure.
anything?
So we had one estimate that came in, they gave us a quote to fix the controls, about $18,000. However, the issue is not only controllers, it's not the only problem, so we are having another representative come in on Wednesday that really knows the system, to give us a quote. So we'll know more information after Wednesday, but provided in here is a memo from the city engineer, as well as a comprehensive study that we had done in 2013.
I remember that one.
And then we had an update, the last couple pages is an update that we did towards the end of the year when we redid the cost estimates to see if they were still relevant. So we're still looking at that $400,000 to $500,000 for a whole new system.
Might I suggest, because we have a little extra time, if we took a couple minutes just to read what's in front of you? 'Cause
Sure.
You don't have to be done until 7:15.
Right, right. I've got a couple other things I'm going to spring on you, but they won't take long. They won't take long. But I did ask Jeff, I had looked this over in his office one day last week, and I did ask him about some of the things that I thought seemed a little outside of the actual HVAC. And he said that having talked with the companies, they felt that some of these things, electrical power and such, he said they thought if you're going to do it, you're much better off to maybe do all of those extra things. And I said, could you have like an energy audit from BPU? Because he said there would be savings eventually. I said, would an energy audit, could we get any rebate then? Now, I don't know if those rebates are gone or not, but a few years ago, the library had an energy audit, and we got a rebate for the upgrades in our lighting system and such.
And I think Connie did some research for you on, got some data back from Todd Wickland from BPU on how those rates are collected of the rebates and what is available, and we can definitely check into it.
Sure.
We got a rebate when we're doing the street garage lighting.
That's right.
We authorized that
Okay.
late last fall, and we got a rebate to do that.
Okay.
Or no,
When
that
was
was
that?
this year.
That was
When
this
did
It was this year,
Yeah.
sorry.
So it
Yeah, she asked for
Yep.
listing of rebates back then too, I
Yep.
just remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
There's information as part of the bill that the residents pay every month goes towards this rebate
But I think it's a
program.
state mandate. that
Yes,
they have
it's a
a
mandate
rebate
that they have to
program.
have a rebate
I
program.
Of course,
recall
the big problem is, even if we at some point attempt to go through with this, is how do we pay for it? And that's the biggie. I mean, we'd have to have a lot of garage sales, I guess, or whatever, to get that kind of money. And so,
Golden marks.
as we move ahead, we've got to be thinking about
But
that.
part of why I brought this up to Kelly's group, because we had a meeting in here last week,
Right.
and I think the temperature got to be about 80 degrees.
I
We
heard
had
that.
our local legislators in here, and right away after the meeting, the council member said, it's embarrassing that we have that. And I said, we still have 5 more hours to work here today, and it's only going to get hotter.
Right.
And in the winter, when the employees have mittens on and
Right,
blankets on,
right.
I feel embarrassed that we've got a work environment that's like that. So I wanted to make sure the council
Right.
understands what we're dealing with.
Right.
It's not just for the hour that you're here. And what's unique about our system, to our benefit, This is the council chambers. This is on its own separate unit. So you guys never get to experience what we experience come 20 degrees below zero in a February when it's 55 degrees in there.
Or when our city engineer is coming in to make sure that we don't freeze the pipes on the weekends when it's 30 below.
Well, and you sat here for interviews. You know what it's like when he had to come in every hour, flip
Yeah,
the switch on the
yeah,
air conditioning
yeah.
because the fuse busted on it. So.
It's just painful, and the dilemma I have several dilemmas, but among them is that the library is going through some of the same. And we've had a couple of contractors over looking at it, and it's so old, it's probably like ours. It's the original system over there at the library. And some of the parts they claim aren't available. Even if you could replace parts, they have a hard time getting them. And so what to do, we're scrambling over there. Our librarian was asked to get it, if she could possibly find 1 or 2 other companies, look at it, see what they said. Trying to get as cost-effective a solution as we can, but there's no easy answers to those things. Have you got an easy answer?
Just a short story.
Okay.
I work right now in a 1929 building,
Yeah.
so it's 85 years old. The plumbing is original to the building. It's been tinkered with on the exterior a little bit. Some of the electrical has been tinkered with. We've kind of patched, but I've been reminding the county board, you pay me now or you pay me later. And right now, I see you're going to pay, pick your number, $500,000. If nothing's done, $714,000. That will happen. So while it looks like a chunk of money, and I have no idea where that comes from right now, I may help you there, but either you pay me now or you pay me later. And in the meantime, the mittens stay on. Well, I understand the public sector is public sector, but I have the belief that we need to have adequate housing for people. They can work in comfort, much more productive. They're not distracted by the mittens as we hit the keyboard and other things. So I get it, but yeah, in a daunting number, sure. But you will pay now at this, or pick your number, 18 months, you'll pay more.
Well, those are things we'll have to wrestle with.
Yeah.
And there's many questions.
And I don't know, maybe I'll tell Jeff during the meeting, but I don't know if I personally care to see any interim solutions. I'd rather see a solution.
And Jeff, I think when you guys were talking about the 2013 and the petition was being served 2 years ago, or being talked about at that time, they talked about an interim solution, $80,000 to $100,000. An interim for how long is that good for? 5 years, versus 20, 25 years.
Yep.
So it is an expense, and it's not an easy expense, but we have a responsibility to our employees.
I think the good thing about this is that it's coming at this time, and we'll be getting into budget. And that those are the times when it's, I think, best if you have to bite the bullet and make your decisions as to where you're going to go and how you're going to do it. So it's probably a good time.
Very appreciative of council. I mean, last year you added specific dollars to work towards this. And so I think council has recognized it. It's just, as we all appreciate, it's not easy to raise taxes. It's our tax dollars, yours and mine, and Gabe's tax dollars too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I just wanted to be sure we're all working together on this, both committees, because it also is a finance committee, and I felt very strongly that, we needed to address it as well as that other committee. And I appreciate this, it's a good information. So I guess, Gabe, I think you probably are right that an interim is maybe not the best solution, unless he's got a really good interim. I don't ever discount it.
It's still just interim.
I don't discount it, but we've got a lot of work ahead. And then I had I called Elaine and asked her about those fire trucks because I never heard anything about them. And she said they were sold, and she told me what they were sold for. And I asked her if she could get a memo over here, and she did, and it's on your desk, I think, upstairs.
Oh, council table upstairs.
And so I would just like to recommend that in the future that all money from the sale of land or goods be reported in written form to the council at the first meeting following the receipt of funds. Because it would help me at least to keep track of our revenues, and that's important to me. So I would like us to add that as kind of a recommendation to council.
We haven't actually received the proceeds from the sale of the vehicles yet. When we sell on a public surplus, it takes 30 days or so to actually receive the funds.
Okay.
We don't actually have the funds on hand yet, just so
Okay.
that you know that.
Okay.
We'll get it, but usually it takes 30
Right.
days or so.
Okay,
And
but
I appreciate your request about, but we do, when we give you the monthly reports and where we're at with expenditures, that does include expenditures and revenues. So it's not like,
It's just
we don't
that-
call it out each and every revenue, but like
we
last
should.
week, we talked about the sale, we bought new fencing.
Yes.
And the sale of that went into another
Park
account. So, but
dedication.
we don't call it out each and every time.
Maybe we should, because there aren't that many. And just to keep
But the dollar
everybody.
amount is such a small dollar amount. That's all I'm trying to get at, Mary. We're not talking about tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. And it's important for us to track it because we want to make sure it's not pigeonholed and not received. But it's such a nominal amount. And I hate to use the word nominal because it's taxpayer dollars. But I think that's the question we have. We have to, at what level is important to let council know? $500, $700, $1,000?
It is to
You
me.
will, at the end of the year, see those revenues come in. When we talk about, we sold those vehicles, we would say, okay, we got about $4,000.
I just like to
But-
know. It's
Yeah, I don't
important to
disagree.
me
I'm
to
just
know
saying.
that. I'm a person who likes to keep track of every penny. And, I believe that. The old saying is, watch the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. I bet your mom used to say that, Patrick.
Yes.
All right. So I just like to see us go ahead with that so that we always get those reports. I like to know.
It's not bad to get a memo or get a report,
Right.
but I don't know if, and I care about taxpayer dollars
Right.
as much as the next person, but I don't really care if they sold it to us for $629. We authorize them to sell it. I'm sure it's going to go to the appropriate place. I trust Tony Saylor to do the right job with that $629, whether I know the exact amount or not. I would say we should need a floor of 1,000, 5,000, whatever, some type of floor if we create a policy to.
Well, what do you do then about a councilman? I just want to know. I feel I have a right to know. Under the charter and under state law, as a council person, I'm responsible for the finances. That's the law. Statutorily, we are responsible. And I can't be responsible if I don't have a clue what's coming in. And all I ever really know about is what's going out. What's your idea?
Well, just thinking through, now for somebody to write a memo that says we got $629 is a cost of writing that memo, okay, and the time. All right, so if on once a month you have special notes in
Right.
your reports, these were the receipts from
Right.
this. So once a month you've got it in writing without doing a special
That's
report.
fine.
It could tuck it away.
Right,
But
that would suit me.
again, every penny is every
Right.
penny, I get it, but in the grand scheme of things, $629 in Brainerd, valuable, but what are the priorities?
Well, once a month would be fine.
Yeah.
I just want to be sure that we're kept in the loop, And if someone says to me, which is what happened, someone said to me, did you guys ever sell those fire trucks? And I said, I don't know. Well, do you know what they were asking for them? And I said, well, I think they were just going to get what they could.
No, they would have taken $2,500.
And so I didn't know. And so that's why I called Elaine and tried to find out. So people do watch that more than maybe you know. Sometimes.
Believe me, we follow up on all these questions too.
Right. I believe
it's
that.
just like that. We hadn't received the dollars, so I didn't even know what the exact dollar amount of
Right.
sales were.
Right.
So I think I found out who the township supervisor was that bought them, but I didn't know what he paid for them.
Well, now we know. Now we know. Could we leave it then and say that we will try to develop a policy that deals with a monthly report on that kind of
Well, would we need a policy, or we just need to have Connie give the itemized?
Yeah.
miscellaneous receipts.
That's
and
fine,
bring them up.
If you give us a
just so we
You
know.
know, give us 6 months of
Trial.
this kind. We don't sell a lot of stuff this way.
I know we don't.
So, but if we give us 6 months to give it a try, and if you say, nope, I still have a heartburn over that, then you talk to Jim and he'll write up a policy.
We'll give him grief.
Do you, by the way, just curious, do you sell by K-bid or direct bid to the public, or what do you do?
We use an auction service for some of the
Okay.
departments. This one, I forget the name of the company. And then we put it online for the
Yeah.
citizens of Brainerd to know we're auctioning off that way. But I'm trying to think if there's others we use too, but that's typically the process.
Yeah.
Okay, and then last item, and I told Connie not to even put this on the agenda because I haven't really thought it through, but I'd like to bring it up tonight. I talked very briefly to Gabe when he came in about it, and that has to do with the budget. And I did ask Jim if he would be agreeable to a budget meeting of the whole council on August 10th. And I have a feeling he'll be pretty well up to speed, and he said he would be. And so I'd like to set that, but I'd like to have a meeting with department heads on the, was it 27th and 28th you were available, Gabe?
Available.
July. And this is how we'd like to do it. We'd like to schedule the department heads each one by one instead of having everybody come in and a big meeting when, in other words, administration will meet from 4 to 5, or, you know, I'm just hypothetical. Engineering 5 to 6, parks 6 to 7, and 2 days we should be able to do all of them and ask them each one to have their own budget prepared, try to give us the status of their current budgets and any new revenues that they're aware of that would be applicable to their budget, and then meet with them. Now, here's the only question. Should we try to do this as a committee, or should we try to do it, say to the whole council, can you be available? And it's immaterial to me. I can go either way. To me, it's more practical, almost, in committee, and then go with the whole thing, the 10th, but I'm fine either way. What do you think?
I'm fine either way.
Okay. Do you have any
Well,
thoughts about, yeah, go
Just a
ahead.
perspective, because obviously internally I'm getting used to where the men's are based, but at Polk County, there had been a process with a budget committee, meeting with my predecessor, the coordinator, and one of the things that the county board asked to change is that we have budget committee meeting, a budget committee of the whole, so that we had budgets prepared by each department. It was all presented in written form or computer form, whichever way they preferred. So they saw it ahead of time, and we would schedule an appropriate time frame. Human services, well, there's an hour. Okay? The environmental services office, half an hour. For the auditor treasurer, just for the function, maybe 15 minutes, because there are 5 employees, very little revenue directly to them. So we try to portion out which department got. In the sheriff's department, well, there's an hour. So what we did was that it shared the greatest information. Everybody heard the same thing at the same time, and questions could be asked. So it was just a process that stepped away from a committee report when there were apparently, when I got there, some commissioners that they're kind of clueless because the budget committee was either not communicating well or whatever.
Why don't we ask the full council what they prefer? Because again, I'm fine with
Right.
however it works.
I share that experience because
Right.
I'm not quite sure what's appropriate for you right now, but
Right.
that does eliminate some communication
Right.
potential gaps.
Right, and that's a good point. So I'm all right either way. It's just that everybody is so busy, and sometimes you try to look at where you can be the most efficient with your time.
Right.
But let's throw it out and see if they feel that department heads should meet with committee or full council. And I'm fine either way.
If I could, so Connie and I have been talking about, the historical process with Brainerd is that in early July, the finance department sends out the worksheets for all of the different departments. And right at this point in time, we don't have those sent out. We're not, So to schedule those times, I guess, you said the one question is, who should we do the committee with? My question was, are we gonna be ready for that? And I'm not sure, you haven't asked Connie what, as we just talked about,
Right.
busy schedule, the TIF district got done now. And my understanding was they would be only have them for like a week at this point in time. Because we were talking about getting them out maybe the week of the 15th, and that's if you put in several all-nighters.
You got that in yet?
But not quite yet. I think the biggest expense that we have for payroll, and to send out the sheets to the department heads without having the payroll numbers based on their current staffing level and the wages that have been settled, I think is kind of useless at this point. And so if I can get the schedules done, that
It
would
goes
be-
really quick once we have
Right.
that
Exactly.
data done. So it's not like we're saying, oh, we're not gonna meet our normal deadlines.
Right.
No, we're talking, typically you have a workshop in August, late August, that's right on schedule. It's just that, I'm just suggesting that,
And I thought we had kind of talked too that maybe the council wanted to give us direction before we put
Yeah.
all this work into
I
the
would like that. I would, and I've thought that through. You know, that's the way the county does it,
And
which
that's
I
kind
think
of
is perfect.
What we were starting to do last
Right.
year is we would meet in the middle of July
Right.
with council.
Right.
Department heads would kind of lay out their 5-year capital plan. We would discuss it. You guys would say, yes, we want to see that in the budget. And so we would start out with everything being in the budget and then cut it out. So that was kind of like how we have done it the last 2 years. So I'm kind of confused on how this is a little bit different
Well,
in the process. So.
You know, I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I have told you, and I've been honest about it, that I thought that was a terrible process. I thought all the council department heads were thrown together, came up at one meeting, we had their reports, you talked about this, you talked about that, threw this in, threw that out. At the end, it was slash and burn to try to get down to some acceptable level, which ended up being 10%, which in my view was not acceptable anyway. And there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. Now, before the 2 years you talked about, when Mr. Volt was here as administrator, the way he did it was he did have the council set parameters. How much about, what are you looking at? How much budget increase, how much levy increase are you looking at? Not knowing that, or knowing it's not hard and fast, but trying to give department heads some direction. Otherwise, they don't know where to go. And to me, you talk about a poor use of time. That's a terrible use of their time, in my view. If they don't have a clue where the council's coming from, that's why I had thought if we'd have meetings with departments individually, not all at one time, individually, and let each one lay out what they think is important in their department, and give us some tentative cost, and have them set priorities. To me, that's a lot more workable. And so that's what I was hoping to accomplish. And again, to me, the only real issue is, do you do that with committee or you do that with the whole council? And I would like to ask maybe the council that tonight.
Well,
Maybe
I think-
that's the question.
And I think there's one more issue besides
Yes.
that, and the other issue is July 27th is just too early for that meeting, so we should probably do that later.
Okay, so just ask about the process tonight.
Ask about the
All
process
right.
tonight.
I can
And I apologize for not getting
Not
you
at all.
my-
This is-
my notes.
You're doing good. So I think we do have till September 30th for the preliminary levy. And I think if we do things somewhat orderly, we can easily meet that deadline, So I don't, the department heads are pretty well versed on how it all works. So they're going to come in with some pretty good stuff for us. And then we go from there. But I would really hope that at least, and I hope you help me, convince the council that we should meet individually with departments this year to begin with. To me, it would be easier for them and certainly easier for me to hear what they say. What are your important things here? And we have to kind of keep capital and their day-to-day operations separate. I did a little homework and I see that if we were to consider, and I'm not suggesting at this point we consider any of this, but if we were to consider, for example, a percentage increase of last year's budget, 1% would bring us about $49,000. So if we were to decide on 2% increase, not beyond that, we'd have about $100,000 extra to work with. And those are things that I think, you know, when you talk about direction, that might be something you can look at.
So do you know your commitments for salaries for next
Yes,
year?
we do. Yes, we do.
2%.
And that's where.
Yeah.
Around
We do.
$100,000 cover that.
Right, yeah.
2%.
I think it might. Well, it depends on how we structure things, you know. There are things to be looked at, I think. But, and we also need to know any new revenues, including those from the land sale that we had. That's why I'm so stuck here in knowing what money we've got coming in. Health insurance increases. We don't know those yet. I know that. When will we know that?
November.
Okay.
We get a preliminary number in late September.
Market value increases. I understand market value has increased in the city. And so there's some extra money there without raising the levy. So it's just that I hope we can sack and whack fees.
Can I ask you how, if values increase, how does that get?
Well,
us
you
more
get
revenue?
more money with the same,
We get the same amount of money,
Right.
it's just less per.
right,
Actually,
exactly.
More
the
taxable.
tax rate
Right.
goes down,
Yeah, whatever
but we
it's
still
called.
have the same
Yeah.
money. We
Right,
still have the
exactly,
same money coming in.
Exactly,
But if we keep the tax rate the same,
right.
we have more money.
Correct.
So the only thing the council has control over is the amount of dollars we need.
Right.
The council doesn't have control over the tax rate.
It's the same
Yep.
thing.
No, the tax rate is a mathematical formula based on values. So what the council
Based on
does.
values and the amount of money
Right, so we
we
just,
raise.
but the council needs to determine the amount of dollars
Right,
it needs.
that's
And the
right.
rest happens.
Yeah,
Well, okay, at 7:15, we got Showcase Brainerd up there, Deanne Berry from Senior Center. Jim, we usually meet until 7:30, but on the first Monday of each month, we have a feature called Showcase Brainerd, where we have someone come up and talk about something in the city.
Good.
So that's what's on tonight.
Good work.
I thank you, and thank you, everybody, and